We've covered some of the basic variables that go into
Building
building
great.
some
Oh, look
strategies.
at
There
this.
are other factors.
We're getting into the really gritty. I'm hyped.
Along the way.
Other factors.
Which I'll
let's get into
just
all
briefly
of
run
them.
through quickly.
I've said weather like 9 times.
The weather.
What is going on, guys? It is JJ here, back with a new video. I understand the quality of these videos is not exactly what we are used to having on the channel. If you guys are new to the channel, thank you guys so much for watching. This is gonna be a fun video. This is my last day of my mini little stress break / vacation, if I could call it a vacation. Back home, we'll be back in the regular setup following this, and I think this is gonna be a doozy of a video because today we are going to take a look at the basics of F1 strategy. We've seen all of the footage of the Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton sort of debacle at Abu Dhabi that has ended the F1 season, and it's been amazing. It was some of the most amazing television or just sporting sort of endings I feel like that I could have ever witnessed. I had an absolute joy and pleasure watching it. I did not get to watch the entire race live. I kind of wish I would have been on a live stream watching the race, because I would have been jumping up and down, and I'm a neutral in that. I'm not rooting for Lewis. I was not rooting for Max. I was just kind of watching because I'm in amazement. I don't know. I mean, A, I don't even know if there are any American F1 drivers. 2, I was just there having vibes. I was having a blast watching it for the first time. So the things that happened. If you don't know, then welcome to the basics of F1 with me. We're gonna get back onto the focus. Today we're gonna take a look at the basics of F1 race strategy, which is kind of where I was going full circle with that, is because F1 has a particular way that teams and cars and drivers can find a way, their best way, to win titles and to win races and to get points and or things were valuable. However, I, being me, do not know the majority of those things. I didn't know what a safety car was. I didn't know in that whole Lewis versus Max thing why it was such a big deal that Max had fresh tires versus Lewis having the old tires. Why Max made a pit and Lewis didn't. Why Perez on the Red Bull Racing team holding off Lewis for as long as he did actually helped Max end up winning the race. It's one of those things where it all sort of comes full circle. It's all a part of race strategy, which I can understand just knowing sport in general is the sort of basics of strategy. But we're gonna take a look at actual F1 racing strategy, maybe some terminology, stuff like that, stuff that I could actually get my hands on and maybe learn a little bit better. So let me know your guys' thoughts on this video down in the comments below. It should be a fun one. Should be a really fun one. But yeah, let's get into the video. As well, guys, you can find the original video just down in the description below.
Hello, everyone. Let's have a quick look at
Should I come a little closer? It
something
actually highlights my face a little bit better. It makes my
Let's
teeth
look at
look
race
so white.
strategy. During an F1 weekend, you'll hear things like, we're expecting one-stop strategies at this track.
First off, let me just fix. I will not do the 1080p. You guys are at least going to get clear video if this isn't going to be clear.
Two-stop strategies are the norm, but some teams might try and go for the one-stop.
One-stop strategies, two-stop strategies.
What factors determine what make the best strategy at a given track? And how do teams go about calculating this? In this video, I'm going to go over the basic variables that build towards an effective race strategy. Let's simplify this right now
I would like to
make it easy to see how everything works.
Teams,
Let's start by imagining a 10-lap race.
10-lap race.
I'm going to draw a bar chart with the length of each bar representing a lap time. Let's start by looking at different pit strategies with different compound tyres. Let's say at a certain race you've got the soft tyre that lasts for 5 to 6 laps and will give you lap times of 80 seconds, and the super soft tyre, which will last for about 3 or 4 laps and give you lap times of 75 seconds, so 5 seconds quicker. A pit stop will cost you 25 seconds no matter what tyres you've got on. For the moment, we're going to ignore all other variables and rules. We're just keeping it simple to start.
I am going to pause the video a lot. I would like to preface this because with me pausing it right now, so I can try to understand. So I will pause and stop. I'll try not to talk over the video. But yeah, the goal will be to pause it. Maybe I'll put my laptop up here. That actually shines a little bit more light in general. But yeah, that's sort of the idea of where we're stopping and starting.
So one strategy could be running the soft tyre for 5 laps, pitting, and then running the soft tyre for another 5 laps. Another strategy could be running the super softs for 4 laps, pitting, running them for another 3 laps, pitting again, and then running a third set of super softs until the end. Which is the better strategy? Well, we can work this out by adding up all the lap times plus the pit stops, and this is the only maths I'm going to do in this whole video, so don't worry. The one-stop soft tyre strategy is 80 seconds a lap times 10 laps plus the 25 seconds for the pit stop. That comes to 825.
There's probably going to be a lot of math in this. I actually was good at math, but I don't use it in my everyday life. So, practice is not
the two-stop super soft strategy is 75 seconds times the 10 laps plus 2 times the 25-second pit stops. That all adds up to 800 seconds. So in this very simplified model, the two-stop strategy is fastest by 25 seconds.
Please do build on this.
Now, we build on this. One thing we need to add into our model is the Tyre Wear profile. So this describes how the grip level of the tyre drops off with every lap. I'll go into more detail on how and why tyre performance degrades in another video, but in basic terms, we're going to assume the tyre will be at its fastest when fresh and get slower and slower with every lap. The way in which the tyre wears will depend on certain things like the type of compound it's made of, the track surface,
There's a lot to deal with: the softness, surface of the track, natural track temperature, weather,
and
weather on, weather off,
etc.
Stuff like that.
But we can essentially draw a curve like this to describe how the tyre wear will affect the lap times over the course of the race. Faster lap times up front, lengthening over time.
Is that why Lewis Hamilton is kind of like always
the winner? You can see here what's referred to as
his lap times
the
are
cliff.
always the fastest because he drives so
This is when the lap times start to plummet rapidly due to excessive degradation of the tyre rubber. Drivers will want to pit before it hits this level. Here's how the one-stop strategy changes if we factor in the tyre wear profile. And now we see the curve replicated in the bars. It's easy to see how much time can be lost due to tyre wear over the course of a race, and dealing with this through strategy is vitally important. Now, this model strategy we've been looking at isn't actually allowed in the real F1. As we know, each driver has to use 2 different compounds of tyre out of a choice of 3 during the course of a race. How you use the available compounds by assembling a race out of a number of stints can make all the difference to your result. So let's extend the model a little bit and let's give them 20 laps now, and this will make stints easier to see. Now, an example of a conservative strategy might be start on the super soft tyre. It's almost always best to use the grippiest tyre for the start to get off the line.
I love that this has turned into a video just talking about tyres. Oh, there was the pup. It's essentially just turned into a video discussing tires, because that's how vitally important of a component it is in F1.
Let's say the super soft tyre has 6 good laps in it. After 6 laps, you might take a pit stop and run the medium tyres all the way to the end of the race. Now, the mediums aren't amazingly fast, but they are consistent, and they will take you to the end, meaning you don't have to take a second pit stop. Alternatively, you might take a more aggressive strategy. You start with the super soft for the 6 laps again, but then you switch to the soft tyre. The soft is faster than the mediums, but it won't make it to the end of the race. So you plan on taking a second pit stop and switching back to the super softs for a faster sprint to the finish.
That's insane.
In this strategy, you'll be on a faster compound of tyre than the conservative strategy for 14 laps, and that's 70% of the race. But you do have to take an extra 25-second hit for that second pit stop. So you might find that the aggressive strategy is actually slower than the conservative strategy. But you might still use it if A, you think your driver and car are much better at managing the tyres than the competition, or B, you expect some disruption to the race, like a safety car. And we'll get onto this a bit more in a bit.
Safety car! I knew it was coming.
Tyre wear, let's consider fuel. So there's no refueling, the cars are filled up at the start, and over the race, the fuel drops, which makes the car get lighter over the course of the race, which improves overall lap time, as the car
love
has
all
to
the components
expend
of
less
this.
energy
There's so
pulling its own
much
weight around.
going on.
It makes the cars easier on tyre wear. For simplicity's sake, in our model, let's just say the car gets faster as it uses up fuel in a fairly predictable way. And again, like with the tyre wear, we could draw a curve to express how this affects the lap times. Now, the car's allowed to be filled up with 105 kilograms of fuel, but running at maximum performance for the whole race may require closer to 200 kilograms. Not only that, but the fuel weight is so detrimental to racing speed that strategies might not even want to fill the cars to the brim. This means that some fuel management is needed throughout the race. Race strategists will arrive at the circuit with certain expectations. The start of the race and the laps around the pit stop
these
will
get
be the
so
prime time
complicated,
to go
it's
maximum on
unbelievable.
the engine to get fast lap times and beat the competition. And you can see more about how this can be used to your advantage by watching the undercut video. And then there might be a safety car or two. Safety car and
So,
virtual safety car
safety
periods
car
are rather
what?
slow. Not only
Obviously,
slow,
it keeps all the
but
cars in check.
everybody has to keep the same pace. The engine will use much less fuel, and the tyres will take much less wear and tear, as you're actually not demanding very much of the car at all. This means that the more laps that are run behind the safety car, the harder the cars can run in the remaining laps of the race. They can take the softer tyres longer. They can run in higher engine modes.
Which also,
for
I
longer.
never realized during the race, the Abu Dhabi race, that safety cars, the laps that safety cars take up actually count as laps. Like, they aren't like so let's say in world football, in soccer, for example, where like a player is down, injured, hurt on the field, they then add that time on the end of it. You don't add the laps on in F1. It stays the same. Like if there's 60 laps in a race and there's a safety car for, let's say, 8 of them, stays 60 laps. It's not then 68. Like that blew my mind a little bit, because I was like, wouldn't you want to make up that performance or make up the actual part of the race? But the reason the safety car is brought out is the part of the race. So I think that is really cool. I think that is super
If
slick.
the safety car period occurs here, this
Yeah,
neutralizes these laps, which, and bear in mind I am oversimplifying this, effectively chops these laps out of the race. In the example here, the safety car comes out on lap 12 for 3 laps. At the time, the teams were expecting 8 more laps of racing, but now they've only got 5 more laps of racing. The car on the conservative strategy can now switch things up, take a free pit stop, and match the pace of the aggressive super stop strategy for the rest of the race. Now, you can't predict a safety car or virtual safety car, but you can make an educated guess. Some tracks, like Monaco or Singapore, have a high chance of a safety car occurring. So you might come at the race with some strategies that allow you the flexibility to change things up, or you might go aggressive with the fuel if you believe you'll be able to save some while under the safety car. We've covered some of the basic variables that go into building some of these strategies. There are other factors.
We're getting into the nitty gritty. I'm hyped.
Along the way,
Other factors.
which I'll
Let's get into
briefly
all of
run
them.
through quickly.
I've said weather like 9 times.
The weather. Variations in temperature and the probability of rain might affect your compound choices. If you're expecting some rain to come in halfway through the race, then you're not going to do the conservative strategy that we showed, where you pick the medium tyres to run to the end of the race, because you're not expecting to run to the end of the race on those tyres. You're going to switch on to probably intermediates. If the track is difficult to overtake on, you might choose not to go aggressive, as aggressive strategies normally require some overtaking. You take the extra pit stop, which puts you behind other cars, who you'll now need to overtake in order to exploit your lap time potential. You may even get stuck behind unexpectedly slow cars through no fault of your own. In cases where you expect to encounter some traffic, you might switch up your strategy so that your pit stops are out of sync with the cars around you, so you don't end up on the track in the same place as them. And also, a team may often concoct strategies that take into account both of their drivers, to make sure they're both fairly treated, to keep them out of the way each other on the track, or to allow the number 2 driver to assist the number 1 driver in their quest for title.
That was Perez! Listen, I'm so happy I saw that Abu Dhabi race. It has given me so much insight into this, because that was 100% Perez. Is his name Perez? I'm going to feel so bad if his name's not actually Perez. I cannot remember off the top of my head. But essentially, him blocking up, like, he got to the front early. Like, Max Verstappen did not get a good start in the Red Bull car. And so Perez, for the longest time, essentially just acted as a roadblock for Lewis Hamilton and was just trying to slow him down, stop him from passing him, because he knew Verstappen was coming, because obviously they communicate.
Glory. Now, this has just been a simple introduction to the way that strategies are put together, and these are very basic models compared to what they're actually using at the track. But at its very essence, you're always modelling how lap times are expected to unfold, adding those times together.
The model is rough
strategy that produces the
because there's so many other variables involved.
Overall race time from all of those laps. It's simple, really, right? Right?
I like the end of that video. You know what? Cheers to them. Cheers to them, because that honestly was a great sort of basics to towards F1. Like, if you think about it, like, there are two ways to win. Like, the one pit and two pit is a good start, because they could get into so much stuff with the engine mechanics, the wind, the slipstreams. Obviously they did tires in this, but they talked essentially about tires, about pit stops, about weather, about types of the multitude of tires, about fuel. I completely forgot the conversation about fuel. Essentially, they just used graphs for it. It reminds me of TIFO football, the way that they explain how either players are underperforming or overperforming, or how managers are getting the best out of their teams, their tactics in general. Like when they did the Pep Guardiola tactics video, magnificent. Like, it's analytical stuff like that. It actually gets me excited to watch sports, because sports are always so much deeper than driver A and driver B, or car A and car B. Every single thing matters. And it mattered here too. But let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will be back in the normal setup, the normal lighting, the normal quality of videos coming, I guess, for you guys, not tomorrow. It'll be videos starting on Thursday, the ones that are released on Thursday. We'll be back to the normality. But I'm very, very excited to continue to get to watch F1. Honestly, I may go back and rewatch the 2021 season, or people's favorite races, because that was one of the things I was going to do. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and peace.